Hello, hello, and welcome to another video. And in this one, I am looking at an art studio. That's the brand. The Art Studio Beginner Oil Painting Kit. And it is also my first real time playing with oil paint. Um, so yeah, it comes in a really nice case, which if you've watched any of my previous videos, you might know that I am very drawn to. Um, it comes with a HB pencil that I struggled to get to focus, a bristle brush um, that is not very good. It is a size 2 round brush, but it is not a very nice brush. The bristles are very, I don't know, it's not very good. I didn't end up using it because I didn't like it that much. A sharpener for the pencil, obviously, and an eraser. Um, which I think is all well and good, but for an oil paint set, I'm not sure if the gray lead, sharpener, and eraser were as necessary as some other things that were left out, which I will mention. But it does come with a oil paint pad as well, and 6 paints in lemon yellow, scarlet, ultramarine blue, emerald green, black, and zinc titanium white. And so they're just very small tubes. I believe they are the 5 ml tubes. So they're just a really small, like, sort of taster set, I guess, if taster is the right word. Tester. Test. That's better than taster. But yeah, it doesn't come with any sort of herbs or methylated spirits or anything to clean the brush with. So I've had to seek out my own and I put it in a little taster honey jar. That's where I can use taster. Um, but the honey is all gone, rinsed out, and now it is holding the methylated spirits that I can use to clean the brush for the oil paint. But that would be much more practical to have a little bottle of that than um, the pencil, sharpener, and eraser, because you are much more likely to have those things at home as a beginner, and this is a beginner set, than you are to just have methylated spirits or terps or white spirit or any of those sort of oils, oils, liquids. I'm not even sure what to call it, but those things you do to clean the brush after you've used oil paint or to thin down the oil paint. So I think it's very impractical not to have that with a beginner set, even just a small bottle that I've seen come with other sets. Um, but yeah, no, this set didn't have anything like that. And I think that would make it really, really hard if you were brand new to oil paint. You wouldn't know how to clean it properly because water isn't the best. Um, and this brush is absolutely horrendous. It really wasn't picking up any of the terps at all, and I just wanted to dilute the paint down a little, so I could have a thick side and a diluted side, so I could see how well it would spread and how it would look thick. So I've ended up just grabbing another cheap brush that I brought elsewhere, but it is like a hair brush rather than a bristle brush, and I think it is a size 4 round instead of a size 2, but it is still pretty small. One thing I found really interesting that people will have to let me know if this is typical, but the different paints had sort of different textures coming out. They painted down pretty much the same, but they were different, and I don't know whether that's like the pigment in them makes them act a bit differently when coming out of the tube or what. Um, but I found that interesting. Um, they were fairly, not too difficult to swatch out. And the colors were uh, decently nice. I am seeing here that the ultramarine blue looks really, really dark on the thick side and really purple on the um, thinned outside. But it is blue and it definitely is more blue in person. It's just looking very strange on camera. Um, I do slightly correct the color because they looked really washed out, and I usually have to correct for exposure because I do not have the best setup. And usually it works out pretty well. Everything looks fairly good. But it's really, really messing with the blue there. So I do apologize. But it is blue. It is definitely blue, just a dark blue. But yeah, so I have never used oil paint before. Well, that's a lie. I've used it once at school. It was more of just getting to mess around with these supplies that we don't usually get. But that was years and years ago, and I have not touched oil paint since. Because it is a very intimidating medium. Um, but I don't think it's as scary as I was thinking. And at least this small set kind of, because it was fairly inexpensive. I have had it a while and not used it, but knowing it was $20 or so, just a really small tester set, uh, it's quite fun to mess around with, so I'm going to play with it some more. I know these aren't the best quality paints, but they are a lot of fun to mess around with. Playing with different mixes here, just seeing what I can come up with, testing out. I know fat, over, lean, so I just wanted to play with that a bit, to mess around with my swatches and just see what sort of happens. Um, and just mess around with it and come up with different bits and pieces just to feel out how the medium works. Which it's definitely been a bit of a learning curve, and I still um I will do a little painting in a bit. But it's definitely very different from anything I've really gotten used to before, but it's also a lot of fun. And I am once again kicking myself for not getting into it sooner and messing around with it earlier. Um, but I am overall decently happy with this set. I think the paints are pretty good. Um, I like the pad that this comes with. It's kind of like canvas in little pages. It's quite easy to work on. And, um, but at the same time, I don't know if I could recommend it because the brush is useless to me. I will not use it. I don't, I'm not a fan of not having some sort of medium to help you clean your brush, to thin out the paints, to do all that sort of stuff. I think it is necessary with oil paint. Other mediums, you can take or leave different tools like that. But oil paint, you definitely need something because water alone won't clean your brush. And that makes it really difficult to go from paint color to paint color without making it all a muddy mess. And I'm not the best. This painting I struggled with a bit because I went too much with different colors and it wasn't really working, but it is, the first time I've ever really done a painting in oil paint, and I went for a classic still life, but I really did enjoy it, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I am glad that I have this, but I don't know if I could recommend other people to get it because I do think that it is a waste. And I think just buying a small set of cheap oil paints to start with uh, would be a lot better, and then you could get your medium to work with and different brushes. If you had to buy them all separately, I think it would work out just as well because that's pretty much what I'm having to do here. The pencil, sharpener, and eraser are not enough to make up for lacking that um, medium. So just, I don't know if it's worth it. And even though it does come in a nice case, that alone isn't really worth buying that instead of just buying some paints. Um, but like I said, I'm glad I have it to play with. But that's, as I said, I already have it. So it's there for me to mess around with. But I don't recommend it for people to buy if you want to get into oil paint. I obviously haven't tried anything else, but I think even if you could get the art studio just oil paints without the rest, I think it would more practical. But that it is up to you. These it is really nice to work with, so I wouldn't blame you if you did get it or if you brought it for someone as a gift. It would not be the worst thing in the world. I just think you have to get them some any sort of I think even Gambasol is something people use very often with oil paint. Just something to actually be able to clean the brush with. And I think thinning out the paint a little is really good for that first layer. Like I said, I know fat over lean is a very common tip, which is basically do your thinnest layers and then thicken it up as you go, which I tried to do here. I did decently well, but could definitely do better. Um, and it was just sort of a test because different paints work differently. And having been using a lot of acrylics lately, I was a little bit thrown off. It's more like watercolor in a way in how you should do lay your colors down and whatnot. But again, it's not the same as watercolor. It is also quite different from that. Um, I'm sure most people have given oil painting a try if you've found this channel. Um, so you know what it's about. But it is definitely a lot of fun. Yeah, I wish I had messed around with oil paint sooner. I'm definitely going to be doing some more of it. And maybe I will check in some months to see how my oil paint uh has improved and yeah, just how it's all going. But no, at the moment I'm just having a lot of fun and yeah, no, if you have any tips or tricks or recommendations of different paints or different mediums to use for oil painting, I would absolutely love to hear them. So please leave any comments like that down below. Um, if you have any medium that I haven't tried yet that you think I should give a go, I would absolutely love to hear that too. There are always new things out there that I just completely miss. So I definitely want to hear more. Um, but yeah, so this was pretty much my process of creating a very, very basic still life, a very classic painting, I think. And of course, the most satisfying part of any painting is peeling off the tape. But of course, oil paint takes forever to dry. So this sat out in my, I guess it's not really an art studio, it's kind of the junk room, for a few weeks while it dried. And I still don't think it's completely dry in the thickest areas there, but couldn't wait anymore. So that's the completed piece. It's very basic, but that is how all the best art starts. You start with the basics and improve. And I can see that there are little white patches showing through, but I didn't feel like going over it. So that is that. That's the swatch card. So it's different textures. Also took ages to dry, but it's a lot of fun to run my hand over now to feel the different textures of the thick oil paint. I definitely recommend that if you haven't done that before. Just paint some blobs down very thickly and let it dry. And then it's just fun to touch. It's really fun, rubbery texture. Um, But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the content. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.